Well, here we
Without a hitch. Went off without a hitch, man.
here we are again on Friday Fun Day, Mr. Coffman. Welcome back to the Creative Real Estate Investing Mastery Podcast. How are you doing this fine Friday?
Oh man, it's a good Friday. It's a good day. Good day to be alive. I got a nice good night's of sleep last night, a full night's sleep. Oh, it's so great. So great. It's probably one of my favorite things to do.
It's to get a good night's sleep. Yeah.
Oh yeah, nothing like it.
I'm about what are you typically? I'm about honestly 6 hours a night typically. If I'm that's probably the average night too. What do you get? You get 6, 7, 8?
I'm a 7-hour guy. I love 7 hours, although as you know, I've been dealing with this crazy parasite that I got from the ocean. And so I've been taking these antibiotics, and it's just got me all messed up. It's got everything messed up. I don't quite feel right. It's messed with my sleep. So last night went to bed at 9:30, and I slept till 7:30 this morning. I feel like a teenager. It's awesome.
Yes, indeed. That's good stuff. So now you're on. This is what, round 3 of the antibiotics to get everything cleared up,
and it's rounds 3 and 4. Rounds 3 and 4. And keep in mind, my body is not used to this. I literally have not taken an antibiotic in 20 years, almost 20 years. And I take that back. I think 2011 I did. Yeah, I had a surgery in 2011. But no, that was earlier than that. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We're here to talk about real estate, not about my
Hey, but we're real people doing real deals. So this is the real people part as we get warmed up for this. But you're right, and we're twinsies today. Look at that. Wasn't even.
Yeah.
Weren't even. Didn't even plan that. We're just like, little good-looking cats here out here today. Yeah.
Yes,
that's
sir.
Good stuff. What is on the agenda? What's our topic for today, Mr. Coffman?
Well, today I thought we would talk. Hold on, man. Let me get my list pulled in, my cheat sheet pulled up here. How do I want to state this? The introduction is going to go like this. Oftentimes we hear folks, we hear a lot of gurus, quite honestly. They talk about, and there's a book out there called The One Thing. They talk about learning one aspect or getting into one aspect of a business. And in real estate, that usually starts out with something like wholesaling or something that is kind of easy and really low risk to get into. And that's all fine and dandy. However, it is my belief and in fact my experience that getting into one thing, which is getting into and perfecting and mastering one thing is totally fine. However, you will have to, at some point, expand your horizons. You will have to, in real estate anyway. And so, long story short, a long-winded way of saying that we're going to talk about how to think like a deal architect and not just a buyer. I can also equate this to kind of your run-of-the-mill buyers out there. Like they know one way of buying a specific, or they have one specific acquisitions process. Meaning, if they're going to go out there making a lowball cash offer, and they're going to, they're going to go out and maybe pull funds and pay cash for a deal. I think that is a little bit dangerous because obviously you are missing a ton of opportunity if you're not in the creative space. I really, really do believe that. I live that. We live that. And so we're going to talk about just that, how to be a sort of a transactional mastermind, if you would.
Yeah. So we're going back. So what you're saying is we're going beyond just finding a deal, right? We're going about how to structure and architect that deal so that it meets everyone's needs, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, as you know, there are no two deals that are exactly alike, and thinking one way or only having one real solution to anyone's problem um, is really going to limit. It's going to severely limit your ability to actually acquire these properties, whether that's acquiring contracts as a wholesaler or actually buying properties. What it does is it requires you then, or it forces you rather to, because you're going to lose out on some of those deals, but it's going to force you to spend more money on marketing. It's going to force you to spend more of your time trying to acquire these deals because you just have to have more numbers. Where if you think like an architect, or if you think like it's particularly as it relates to creative deals, creative finance, those numbers start to look a little bit better when you're able to actually make different offers and make more offers on deals maybe that you perhaps wouldn't make if you were just a straight up cash buyer or wholesaler. So that's where we're going with this today. And
so let's just jump right in. So let's talk a little bit about what we mean by the buyer mindset versus the deal architect mindset about structuring there. So when we're just worried about being a buyer, just say that your niche, you mentioned being a wholesaler for a bit, but let's just say your one thing, Greg, going back to the one thing, is you're going to rehab properties.
Mm-hmm.
So all you do then is you look at, right, the price. Maybe you're on wholesale list, so you're supposedly getting a wholesale price, and then you're evaluating the deal, right? Okay, this is how much it's going to cost me to rehab it. This is how long I think the hold's going to be. Here's my holding costs. Here are the numbers, right? But analysis paralysis. Just keep looking at those numbers, like, and it has to meet the threshold. But being a deal architect, right? Going back to what you said, having these creative things in your pocket is, well, what happens if you get that flip property subject to?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's one scenario. Another one is, maybe you're starting out. Maybe you're just starting out and you don't have the lenders in your pocket. Maybe you don't have the types of financial backing that is going to let you scale. So what if you let's say in the case that you're talking about, maybe you're a flipper. What if you could bring a seller in as your partner on a deal? Now, we can get super in the hole. We can get super down the rabbit hole with this, but because there are underlying dangers when you do something like that. But I mean, what are you going to do if you're new and you don't have the financial backing? One of your options then is to get creative and make your seller, or at least solicit for your seller to become your partner in the deal.
Yep.
I mean, I've done it many, many times where I've had a seller, maybe I can only get, I don't know, maybe if I'm using hard money, maybe I can only get a portion of the hard money I need. Well, the seller needs X amount, and I can still see that there's a good potential for a profit on the thing. So I might approach the seller like, hey, would you carry back a portion of this for me? And next thing I know, and this has happened on several occasions, next thing I know, I'm into this thing for $0 out of pocket. And I'm making it, I'm making it work. So it's those types of little things.
Tools for the toolbox. We like.
That's right. Yeah. Just thinking outside the box. Just not. And really, I think it's more of a mental challenge than anything. It's more of a, like when I'll give you an example. When I first started building my private lenders list, I had no idea how to ask people for money. I was terrified to do it. I've said this before, but I it was recorded, so I know it's out there somewhere. There's a video of me giving a presentation to a group of lenders that is, I just hope and pray that it is never made public, because it was just so, you could see it. I was just terrified. I was sweating. I had sweaty armpits, sweat rolling down my forehead. It was just, I just didn't know how to do it. But for some reason, I always had the knack for speaking with people, particularly sellers. And when I first got started, that's how I did it. I brought them in as partners, and we do some kind of profit split is what we do. But the guarantee was, I don't even want to say guarantee, but the promise, I suppose, was that they would make a certain percentage of the net profits off of those deals. So that was just one small way of getting these deals done and thinking outside the box a little bit.
Hey, how about another real life example before we move on to talk about some items too? So this is many years ago. I remember Ken got out of the rehab stuff for a while, and now got dragged back in, kicking and screaming with him. But so this is a few years ago. We were doing a higher end property, a $500,000 to $600,000 property. And, when I ran the numbers, it was like very thin on paper. It's like, I'm not interested in a $20,000 profit on six, like that's not, because that could turn to zero in like one damn bad turn right around the corner. And that's what's like, man, I don't know. It's great. It's like, well, we really need to do this. And it was like, all right. So and so they said, well, we have another property that's on Table Rock Lake, and like we want to sell it too, and it's a rehab project. I was like, really? So I take a look at that, and I was like, that's another big boy rehab. And as I was like, yeah, I can't do it, man, unless you're gonna finance this for me or do this. Like, oh yeah, that's no problem. We'll carry it for you.
Yep.
0%.
Yep. There are definitely more people out there. People are way more open-minded than we give them credit for.
Yeah.
Especially if you're dealing with the right type of people who are super motivated. They've got to move on something.
So you get a two for one deal when I wasn't even. I was like, I was gonna. When you're gonna walk away because the margin's so thin on a $500,000 flip, in that price point. It's like, yeah. But you make it worthwhile. Plus, Ken also had a third piece because he was getting a piece of the deal on the new house they were moving into. So it was like a 3-pronged thing. Remember, keep all your options. And so sometimes it's about the total package of what you're trying to do.
That's true.
To solve people's problems, as opposed to the one thing, right? The one property that was thin on paper.
But it's still, out of the box thinking, and this was just another instance where your seller ended up financing this for you. I don't know if you remember this. I think you were at this particular speaking event. I think it was, I can't remember if I actually asked this question to the audience. I was doing that event at Buyers Club. Local Buyers Club. And I'm pretty sure it was this one, but I polled the audience and I asked them, and this talk was all about subject to. And I asked the audience, how many of you have ever closed your own subject to deal? And you had a few people hold their hands up, and I said, keep your hands in the air. And then I asked them, how many of you actually sourced those deals? Meaning you marketed for, you were able to get that under contract, literally. And there was only like out of a room of 250 people.
Yeah, it was pretty. Yeah.
I think maybe 6 or 7 people raised their hand to the first question.
Yeah.
Then when I asked how many of you actually sourced your own deals, their hands went down. There were like 2 people in this audience, and I'm thinking, man, there's a room full of people here that are either 1, brand spanking new, they have no idea what I'm talking about, or 2, they're just going with kind of they're not thinking outside the box. They're not thinking about alternative ways to get their deals funded. And I don't know. I just think that that's the type of number one. I think that's the opportunity. Is that for those that are going to watch this, or those that maybe follow us or whatever, you understand that the opportunity is in the out of the box thinking. And they had a room full of 250 real estate investors, and most of them are not taking advantage of this creative finance stuff. The majority, I mean, a lot of now, it's become really, really popular here in the past 2 or 3 years. I mean, crazy. It's crazy what I'm seeing out there on Facebook now. But even with the popularity of creative finance now, there's just still not enough people that are really getting this, that are really, utilizing these tools and these strategies the way that they should be, or capitalizing on them. So, yeah, that's kind of my thought on what we're ultimately talking about is, are you going to continue to dig this hole, and are you going to die by the sword of the cash offer, or are you going to jump into the creative finance side?
Yeah. So let's talk about some key. So along with the deal architect, let's kind of define the key attributes that we have for a deal architect. So we already kind of mentioned the first one that I'll dive right into is you have to problem solve. You have to creatively problem solve. We've hit that, but let's just encapsulate that, right? You have to be able to think differently, right? About, okay, this one property is not great, but now this seller has another property for me, and they'll sell or finance it at 0%. And so it's just about thinking this, and again, right? Multiple ways. Like we always say, make multiple offers, make a cash offer, make a seller finance offer, or subject to offer, or whatever, but make multiple offers so people can see different things and ask questions about it, right? Because you always say subject to deals aren't really found, they're made. More of them are made than found, right?
100%.
Like wholesalers think they find great subject to deals, and they're a bunch of bullshit. Like, I'm just going to say that out there. A bunch of bullshit. We see, going back to what we see on Facebook, nonsensical nonsense is what I call that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll go even a little bit deeper on that when we talk about problems. Actually, the intangibles are just as important as the numbers. Mm-hmm. So, if you've got a seller that say, maybe you've got a marginal deal, something that on paper doesn't appear to be a super great deal for you, but what if you can help the seller out in a totally different way? And so the way we approach these every single appointment is we're asking questions. Just constantly asking questions. It's a classic saying in this industry, you've got one mouth and two ears for a reason. And if you really, really put that into practice, and and the only thing that comes out of your mouth are questions, you're going to get answers. Those answers that you get, the more questions that you ask, the more answers that you get, the greater understanding you have of this person's real motivation, their real problems. And those are the things you focus on. Stop thinking about, we can, honestly, there's not too many deals that, there are some, but there's not too many deals that we can't do something with. It comes across your desk and you look at this, you're like, this is terrible. What am I going to do here? Well, we can sit down and figure that out, how we can actually make money on it. But you can't even get to that stage unless you're dealing with the real problems of the seller and you're helping out in those. So I would say this is a 50-50 or a 60-40 type of scenario where you want to spend half of your time asking those questions and figuring out what the heck is it that I can do outside of just this deal for this seller to get this seller on board with me and to like and to trust me. And so, yeah, just the numbers are important, but the relationship coming from an introvert is probably twice as important as hey man, it's no secret. I'm a proud introvert. I am. I love my time alone. It's great. But
see now, just meeting you, I would not off the cuff say that you were an introvert too, but you're what you say is so true. Sometimes what the seller really wants to solve their problem and this goes, just another quick example, right? This was the most profitable deal we've ever done on paper from beginning to end, the most profitable deal. And really the main thing that the seller wanted was to be able to stay in the house until their new home was finished being constructed. And they weren't sure when that was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And in other words, they wanted a flexible close. So back in the day, we would say, okay, well, I'm going to flip this house like shit. I need it now because I want it ready 6 weeks from now. And I got to get back on the market before the fall comes. You know what I mean? It was like, but I was like, shit, I'll just hold it through the winter. No big deal.
Yeah.
You know, if it's later, because if it's September 1st, you know, it's November 1st on the construction timeline or whatever.
Right.
And that's what they wanted. Most profitable deal we ever did was just it's like, no problem. We'll be flexible. Just let me know. We'll close it when we need to close it.
Right. Yeah. And I gave you kind of a little bit of an example earlier about this kind of creative way of thinking, but we talk about thinking outside the box and acquisitions, particularly, you know, blending different financing strategies together and figuring out those numbers. Of course, they all of those you have a total figure, a total number, but all of those have a piece in it. And if you understand how each one of those financing strategies works, you know, so for example, how we met, I've talked about this before too. You know, I had a private loan, a seller finance deal that I was working on, and I found that termite damage that was unsuspected. I contacted you. I said, hey, I need, you know, another 15K. So now I have a seller finance deal, and I also have a private lender, and we've combined efforts to get this done. Again, I'm not totally zero out of pocket, but I'm as close to zero as you could get on a deal like that. And you know, and ultimately it worked out. And I think that's the way you just have to, the way you have to approach this, particularly if you are, you know, just starting and you don't, like I said, you don't have that, that network of lenders that you can call up and just say, hey, I've got a deal I got to get done. Can you fund it for me? So yeah, and this was, you know, it's completely out of necessity for me, but it doesn't have to be that way for other folks. You can prepare for this, and you can, you know, you can have all of these tools in your toolbox. It just so happened to be that that's how I perform the best. That's how I, like, when I'm under the gun, you know, forget deadlines. Deadlines mean nothing to me almost. It's like, okay, I'm under the gun. I've got to get this done, and that's when I really just start rolling. That's not true on necessarily everything, but a lot of the times it is. You know, a lot of times it is.
No, I would say that's pretty. Yes, that is a superpower. Remember the sub 2 flip, which was going to the auction block, and you got that some bitch closed in the morning of day 2. So what, 36 hours or something like that. So
yeah. I mean, for me, it just helps me. Like if I see that, I'm getting off topic here a little bit, but if I see that end date in mind, that date means it doesn't mean a whole lot to me. I know it's there. It's ever present. It's omnipresent. But it doesn't, until it comes to crunch time, that's when I work the best. That's when I'm, you know, you're just kind of forced into it. You just have to do it.
So the next big item too is we call it, you mentioned this already, so I'm just going to say, you need to understand what the seller wants. Going back to your seller motivations, right? And it's not, doesn't necessarily have to mean strict negotiation about the price and the terms and all that stuff. It's creating, again, you're solving the problem. You're structuring the deal to solve the problem. In order to solve the problem, you need to know what the problem is. What is the seller motivation, and how can you fix that? Right? Yeah. Sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's not. But like you said, you got to build some rapport and figure out what is the seller motivation and how can I structure the deal around that to make it work for everyone.
Right. Yeah, I think there's a key word there that you used, and that I don't really don't like your tone when you said this, but you said, what does the seller want? And I don't think that's it's probably a slip of the tongue, but it's what does the seller need? Like,
yes, yeah, you're
ask
exactly
those
right.
questions, you figure out what they need. And I think moving into any type of relationship with a seller, even because these subject to deals, these are going to be long-term deals for the most part. At least that's how we like to structure them. And so by asking those questions and figuring out what the actual need is, it helps to reinforce that relationship for later on down the road when something pops up. If it's like if it's a subject to deal, there's something is going to pop up later down the road. You're going to have to get in touch with that seller more than likely. And so start early, start often, and look at the relationship side of it versus just the figures and the numbers. Where are we going to go from here? We got some bullet points here.
Yeah, next big item to be a deal architect is that you have to mitigate your risk. Like this is true no matter what. Like if you're an investor of any type, you want to risk mitigate, but especially so in real estate, and especially in where we like to live, like in the creative space, right? So remember, you have to make sure, right? This is key. Right? This is key. This is my thing. Make sure that the seller understands what you're doing, how you're structuring it. Like, don't blow smoke up people's ass. Explain it. Be transparent about it. Understand the documents. If it's a subject to deal, right? There's a lot of cover your assets on both sides, not just for you, but for the seller. It's your responsibility to make sure the seller's protected as well, to the extent. Now, are the documents designed for me as the buyer more? 100% yes. But they don't throw the seller under the bus and just say, "Oh, too bad, so sad." We got to make sure the seller understands what's happening, right? So that's why we create good documents. And this is a great segue too. I'm going to throw up our documents package QR code if I can figure out where it is. There it is.
Yeah, you're talking about this, and I don't know why it reminded me of this, but my daughter is actually getting ready to move. She lives out in California. She's getting ready to move to another city out in California, but she doesn't want to sell her house. She doesn't want to put it on the market and go through this whole thing. So I talked to her about hey, think about seller financing it. It's a good option for you. You're going to be moving, further away. You're not going to have time to travel back and manage this house, or even just the repairs that need to be done on it, and the time that is consumed with, calling contractors or setting things up or replacing, air conditioners or what have you. Seller finance it. And she said, well, I did talk to an agent out here, and I brought that up to her, that I would like to seller finance it. And the agent told, guess what her agent's response was? I'm
That's
sure
illegal.
That's illegal. You can't do that unless it's paid off. And so I went through this whole thing about it's not illegal. People do it all the time. It's done every single day. And but my point is, like, this is an agent, and I know this agent's been in this game for a while, because I think it was the one that she used to buy that house. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I think it was. And it's like, how can you advise people? My daughter's a seller. She's talking to an agent who is supposed to be advising her, and it's like, how can you advise people if you don't know the rules? And I just wonder how many missed opportunities there are out there. It's probably way more common than the other way around, but it's just an example, and one of those things is obviously, at that point, if my daughter did decide to do something like that, she is now the investor. Now she owns an investment property.
Yep.
And understanding how to take the risk out of this equation, or as much as you can out of this equation. And that has to do with, obviously, paperwork. That's number one. But also your time. For her, it's going to be time. How is she can't risk all of this time. So what is the best exit strategy for her to look at? And I am always going to say that's seller finance. I'm always going to say that. But so there's many aspects to risk management. But I think your specialty is going to be cover your assets, like you say.
Cover your assets.
Yep.
That's right.
You're very, very good at it. Very good at it. So,
and what we like to do, brother, is we always like to act with integrity. In other words, we try to do the right thing even when no one's watching, and that's how we treat the sellers. Like we try to keep that, like, how do I want my mom treated?
Yep.
That's how we're gonna try to conduct business.
100%.
Man, that gets you a whole lot more deals, even when you're not the lowest offer.
Yep. That is true.
So yeah,
that is true. I've got everything we're hitting on. I've got a little story about, but this one happened to be not far from. This is literally like 2 blocks from my house, which was weird. I got the call from this seller off of some marketing, and I looked up the address. It's like, holy cow, this is like 2 blocks from my house. So it's kind of weird going to that appointment. It was like you kind of wouldn't expect it in this area, first of all, but also that's a preconceived notion, by the way. That's totally baloney. It happens everywhere. But I get there and she says, yeah, I've already talked to someone. He's made me a very similar offer. This happened to be a subject to deal. He's made me a very similar offer, and I definitely was not offering less, I definitely was not offering more than he was. I was offering less, and she actually took my offer because of this whole idea of what I'm talking about, like going in and just asking questions and listening and being totally present in the conversation. So it happens. It definitely happens.
And that's a perfect segue into the next one. So key skills of being a deal architect. Okay, let's just summarize that in. You need to be a creative problem solver, right? Which means you need to have creative finance strategies in your toolbox. You need to understand what creative financing do. Are you going to do a sub-2 offer? Do you want to do seller financing? Is it going to be a blend? Like, you need to understand and be comfortable with all those things. You also need to understand the true motivations of the seller, right? So that you can structure the deal properly. You want to minimize your risk whenever you're doing that, right? Cover your assets. Starts with the paperwork you mentioned in there, but it also starts with the transparency about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and how it's going to protect both sides of the transaction. And then your exit strategy, we just talked a little bit about the exit strategy. It's not a problem. Like, we usually, when we go into the deals, we might have 2 or 3 different exit strategies that are all viable and all can be profitable. And we kind of adjust a little bit. Now, most gurus say don't do that. Like, stick with that one exit strategy. It's a straight rental, or I'm gonna straight seller finance it, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes you need to pivot.
Yep.
Sometimes when you start marketing, you don't know who you're gonna get, right? The pools change, the market changes all the time. You don't know who you're gonna get. So maybe you need to do a lease with an option, as opposed to, or a lease purchase, as opposed to being a straight rental.
Right.
You need to adjust to the situations.
Yeah, and as it relates to that as well, I think it's probably true for most real estate investors. It's when somebody has the opinion that they have just one exit strategy and that's what they're going to do, they are not mitigating their risks very much by obviously, for obvious reasons, because that strategy might not work out. And so, like you're saying pivot. I would add on to that by saying that I think it's probably it's just way more dangerous than having the option. Like, I definitely have to have at least 2 exit strategies. One is a kind of a surefire thing, like, this is what I want to do. But if not, I've got to have something. I got to have another way to disposition a property.
Yep. Always have a backup plan.
Yeah, always. And so, by understanding, by the way, we didn't even talk about the creative side of selling.
Yeah, I know. Yes, and just like most people, most things, we always tend to focus on the acquiring, but yeah, the selling is just as important.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think. In fact, I've said it before. I think it's probably the most important, because it determines whether or not that deal. You can figure that stuff out up front for the most part, but that's going to determine whether or not that deal is going to be a deal for you to sign up. And yeah, I just don't know. I just don't know how a lot of these investors survive with these, you know, cut and dry. I'm going to do this, this, and this, and this, and it's like, okay, let's throw a wrench in the thing, and
and then you have to walk away and not make any money, right?
Yeah, and tell me what you're going to do. Yeah, so I just think that you know, this all comes with education and experience, of course, but I think if you go into it with a plan and you're not flexible with that plan, I mean, you just have to be willing to pivot, like you say, because nothing in this business is as cut and dry as we are led to believe it is. It's just.
And sorry, I'm going to time out for a second. Shameless plug number 2. And so you should partner with us, right? If you're a real estate investor, like you need to fast track your stuff, and you can figure all this stuff out on your own. That's true. How long will that take you, and how many mistakes will be made? How much money will be lost? That's the reason why you partner with us and the Deal Partner Program, so we can help you do that. I was just on a call earlier this morning too. Just talking about it, like, yeah, I'm pretty tired of being a landlord. You know, the tenants, the 3 T's, the tenants, trash, and toilets. Like, you know, sometimes in the property, and I even have it property managed, and they friggin' suck. Like, yeah, so you should change yourself into a note lord instead of being a landlord. Like, that will make big differences.
Yeah, or at least give yourself the option.
Really? Yes, I should start to. Yeah, we should start doing that. That's like what we do. Like, we could just throw this shit out there for you. You suck it up and you use it how you need to use it. That's what we're here for.
Well, there's no doubt that with enough energy and effort and experience, anyone can learn to do what we do over time. But what we ultimately provide is a how do I want to say it? We take on more of the risk than we take more of the risk off of that experience. Like we're gonna fast track things for you. We're gonna get you moving in the right direction and have you way ahead of the curve. Let's talk about. Well, let's look at let's stay on the subject to thing. Let's look at one of the tools that we can provide these folks free of charge. Just go out to our website, download our Sub2 calculator. That is that calculator has now been ripped off more times than I've seen it out there so many different places. I mean, I see
at least half a dozen times that I know of in the past 3 years. So yeah.
You know what's funny is I'm seeing people running ads for their own.
Yeah.
For the very, very similar calculator. Very crazy similar.
We don't want to say where they got it from, but let's just say that the guru's guru didn't make that up himself. Let's just leave it at that, right?
Yeah, but anyway, you guys can go out and check out our. This is just one of the tools, you know, and this is like a tangible thing that you can look at. This is going to run the numbers for you. And by the way, it's not just for subject to deals. It can be for really any deal that you choose. You just have to kind of finagle the numbers a little bit. So this is a tangible tool that you can use. What is not a tangible tool where you can see an actual problem is the experience and the hours and hours of talking to sellers. And so I would just encourage everyone to get out there and do your 10,000 hours. Get out there and start talking to sellers, and the property evaluation stuff. Well, it'll come to you. Like it's nearly second nature to us at this point. We could just kind of look at it most of the time anyway. We can look at a deal and tell you whether or not it's going to be profitable. But it's the actual what we talked about before, actually talking to the sellers, figuring out their problems, and working through those problems. And those are something that we've experienced, but certainly we're not even anywhere near close to. I mean, you can't. you can't be, we're not anywhere near being able to solve those kind of intangible, or knowing how to solve all of those intangible problems. It's just something you have to work through on any particular deal.
And as you mentioned, every deal's different.
Yep.
But I think it's important in your toolbox that you know from being the deal architect about pulling the different levers that can change the deal.
Yeah.
Right. So price is a lever, right? The purchase price is a lever.
Yep.
What can you sell it at? Going back to the selling side, right? The acquisition and the selling side. What can you sell it at? So maybe you start there and work your way back to get the acquisition number, right? So it's about knowing the different levers you can do. What can you do with financing? Can you get it sub to? Will the seller finance it straight? Will the seller carry back? Where can you get private money? Can you partner with somebody? Like having all of this ready to go when you go out there and talk makes a big difference than, okay, I'm just going to go out here and maybe I can do this. Because I did this too. Like, I'm just being honest. Just like, oh, shit, well, I might have this deal. Like, now how am I going to fund it? Like, I don't worry about that anymore. So, like, because I know I can figure that out. But you need to be able to know and have those things in your back pocket ready to go when you need them.
100%. Yeah, it's like I say, the calculator is a tool, by the way, that can help with that exact scenario.
Yep.
Like you can build if you have certain assumptions that on the acquisition side, we're talking about levers. This is what gives us the it gives us the ability to turn certain things off and on or adjust things. For example, if we go through our calculator and we put in all of our acquisition assumptions and we look at our seller finance side of that, like what we could sell it for, we have a bunch of levers inside of this calculator that you can turn off and on. You can adjust. So for instance, you can adjust the interest rate that you're offering to your seller finance buyer. You can adjust that so that it meets a certain ideal cash flow amount that you want, or maybe it's a certain equity amount that you want. And we get to build all those things in when we're talking about creative finance. So go out and get the calculator. It's a simple Excel spreadsheet, but it's very, very powerful. It can help you out immensely when it comes to creative finance.
Yes, and you even get when you sign up to get the calculator, you get one of our tutorial videos that explains the different aspects and what it is and what it's outputting on the other sheets and all that stuff too. So it's not just, oh, here's the calculator, figure it out. So
I didn't even know we were going to be promoting the calculator today, but I'm glad we did because it is an invaluable tool. In fact, this deal that we're working on right now, you just sent me some numbers on it. You use the calculator. We use it every day. Every day it gets used, and it's
right.
It's not let us down yet.
Well, it's exactly right. It's designed for your creative strategies. Like, if you got to have a tool in your toolbox where you can figure out what your creative exit strategies are to get to creative acquisitions.
Right.
Right. So, yeah.
By the way, last thing I'm going to say about the calculator, it's not just seller finance. Down at the bottom up there are tabs for calculating rental, calculating flips, lease options, seller finance. It's all there. And then it also includes an amortization table, not only for if you took a property subject to, not only for your subject to property, but also if you seller finance it, it's going to provide you an amortization table for your buyer that you can then download, print out, and provide to your buyer so that your buyer knows at any given time what their loan balance is. So it's a really powerful little tool.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see here. Let me look at my bullet points.
We're down to mistakes to avoid, I think. Is that right?
Yes. Oh, this is a good one. Yeah, this is a really good. This was a. We've already hit on a couple of these, but this is very, very important. Number one, be honest and truthful with your numbers. Do not. I've done this so many times. I've wanted deals to work so badly that I would go in with these hypotheticals and unrealistic numbers. And although, I've said it before, I've never lost money on a deal, but I have come damn close. Damn close. And it's usually those deals where I have, unicorns and rainbows This is how it's going to go. And I've fudged the numbers for the best possible outcome. And in fact, I think we did one together like that Elwine property. And looking for the very best possible outcome, just did not turn out that way. And I probably, if I had to go back and do it again, I would have had to have made a lower offer or a creative offer. That was one of those cash deals. It was just like, get it funded, get it done. And so it happens. I mean, if you're going to be in this business for any length of time, it's going to happen. You're going to be tempted to want to run numbers that are not realistic. But true data, true math does not lie. It does not lie.
And that's where your buddy Ken comes in, because he's usually ultra conservative on the old calculations. So it's just like, okay, yeah, but this is probably like what it's really going to turn out to be.
Right. Yeah, it's good quality.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no, you can't. I mean, the first time you lose money, you'll know. Like, you'll know that, hey, I got to start being realistic. And it's very enticing though. It's like bait. It's like clickbait is what it is. It's like, you've got this dangling carrot over here. I bet I can hit this. I bet I can reach this, what could be a goal that's a little out of reach. But yeah, just be realistic. And that all starts off with good data. And I'm going to throw this in there. Get MLS access. Everybody. Just
have a friend. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It should be a priority for everyone. It really should.
Yeah. It's the best. Well, it's the best data. It's the best, most updated data that you can pull. Private stuff like PropStream's okay, but it lags, right? And I mean, it has a lot of functionality, a lot of features, and it's better than it used to be, but it still lags behind.
Yeah, MLS is almost real time too. Like, it's almost within 24 hours. You'll know.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So.
Yep. Also, a mistake we mentioned before, we'll just recap, is like, always have a couple of different exit strategies. Always have a backup plan.
Yep.
Right. And again, going back to what you said, the calculator gives you several different exit strategies that you can do, and you're trying to find the most profitable one. Remember, sometimes it's not always about, okay, this exit strategy is going to get, on paper here, is going to give me $3,200 more, but at what cost of your time to make that exit strategy happen versus this exit strategy, right? So that's why you always have to be flexible.
Yeah, Hunter, I'm glad you said that. That's and we've discussed it many times. That's way more important to me than I think any. Of course, I can be swayed by dollars. I can be definitely like anybody. I can be susceptible to that. But really, I got into this for time freedom, and that's probably the very first thing that I consider whenever I'm evaluating a deal or evaluating an exit strategy.
Yep.
So,
and the other mistake to avoid too is, you don't necessarily have to have every I dotted and T crossed, but have, right, through your network. We talked about these networks before, right? We talked about that last week, I believe it was, is you need to be able to fund the deal, because maybe one of the things that's going to get you the deal is that you can close in 10 days when nobody else can. Mm-hmm. So have the ability, have those people ready to go that can fund your deal or partner with you on the deal, or whatever that looks like. Have it ready to go so that you can move that quickly if that's what the important thing is.
Yeah. And if you're doing this, is a lot of that is solved if you can think creatively. Like you brought up the flip we did over the winter. That one was done in, like you said, it was 36 hours from the time that the seller actually called me back to the time we actually got it closed. 36 hours, and we did that subject to. We got a title policy. We had the whole shebang. We had everything done in 36 hours. But that, I can guarantee you. Oh, by the way, that was brought to me by guess whom? A wholesaler.
Yep.
A wholesaler who did not know how to get that done.
Yep.
And so that would have, and so now this wholesaler brings me this deal. And how much did we pay that wholesaler? I think we paid him $9,000 or something like that.
That sounds right. It was less than 10. And if you remember me, I was grousing about that. He's like, what the shit did this guy do? The deal. You're the one who got this done in 36 hours. Like, what?
Yeah.
It all worked out.
But I mean, it's that type of thing. Like, but there was plenty of margin left in that, and we always have our differences about wholesalers, but plenty of margin left in it. And honestly, that guy would have, if he didn't know what I did, that deal, that house would have been, it was going on wasn't a canceled auction either. That thing was going to auction.
Yep.
And so, I mean, that's the opportunity. Not too many people are either willing or able to get something like that done in that amount of time. So, again, just driving home the idea that you have to understand this stuff, because your deals will come much faster. You'll be able to build that portfolio much faster.
So I think we're probably ready to wrap it up. I like this one. This was a good one. I was like, I didn't even get too up on my soapbox a little bit maybe.
Well, you know what, man? I told you this medication I'm on has got my brain I can't seem to string a sentence together, and I know it's this medication, but so I hope that everything I said on here was coherent.
Yes. No, I think it was fine. Yeah, no.
Okay. Right.
But just to recap, being a deal architect, right, is where you want to be. Not chasing the deals, not chasing the numbers, being able to figure out what this deal needs, right? I mean, you have to understand the sole motivations, right? So structuring the deal that solves problems. That's the space you want to live, right? And so also too, remember we've harped on this too. Make sure you have your funding. How are you going to do this? You're going to partner with somebody to do that. Of course, you can partner with us. That's our whole thing. But don't forget, we just launched our own real estate fund, which is all turnkey, partnering with us as well too. But we are now accepting accredited investors into our fund. And so just the last shameless plug for the days for our fund there. So that's the QR page. And once we reach a certain threshold, which hopefully will be very soon, we'll be dispersing those funds to our end borrowers and our partners in the program. So we have a lot to offer. We're trying to make turnkey solutions for everybody, as we've mentioned in the past too. So that's what we're here for. That's what we like to do. Make every success. Right? We're solving problems for the real estate investors.
Yeah. Right? So I think what we need to do, let's please keep this in mind. I think we need to, on one of these podcasts, it should be, I hate to say it this way, but nothing but quote shameless plugs, meaning I want to show people the whole ecosystem that we've built.
Oh yeah, maybe we should. We've never really done that before, like the Sub2 Empire ecosystem, which now has this adjacent partner, really, the Creative Real Estate Capital Fund.
Right. Yeah. So I think that if people saw it as in the realm of a bubble or an ecosystem, for lack of a better term, I think they would understand where these shameless plugs come in and why we're doing this, because I think it's not turnkey. We're not going to do it for you. Everything that you have is inside of the Sub2 Empire ecosystem. We feel it's a really great program, and we have a lot to offer. So, all right, what else? Anything else?
That's it. In the meantime, subscribe to our pages, our YouTube channel. We've got a pretty large Facebook group, the Creative Real Estate Mastery Facebook group. That's us, powered by Sub2 Empire. So just look us up. We're all over the place, man. It's we got a lot of free shit out there.
Yeah.
So just see if you like us. Like, and I don't know why I got a potty mouth today, but it's like, real people doing real deals. So we'll just
It's me. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week, 11 a.m. Central, right here on YouTube, or wherever you're picking us up at, whatever podcast platform you're using. Appreciate you guys. Take care. We'll see you next time.